So welcome to our open house for the Host Fellowship. The Host Fellowship is really the heart and soul of our work at Huddlecraft. So it's really good to see you. So yeah, we've said already, thank you for being here, despite how hot it is. But I also think there's another point to make here, which is that it is the hottest day on record, or maybe yesterday was, maybe today. And whenever people turn up to Huddlecraft wanting to host, wanting to bring groups of people together around something that they're passionate about, to learn, to grow together, that is something that gives me immense hope in what are very troubling times and troubling things that are happening around us. So thank you in a practical sense, and thank you in a bigger, deeper sense as well for being curious about what this experience could mean for you. So the Host Fellowship is, in a nutshell, an 18-month program of support to grow a huddle of your own design. And I'm going to talk a little bit more in a minute about the Host Fellowship and what it entails. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about Huddlecraft and who we are, and then a little bit about Huddles and what they are. And then I'll talk about the Host Fellowship and how the Host Fellowship can enable you to start your own huddle. So who are we at Huddlecraft? We are all about tackling steep learning curves together as peers, as co-learners. And these are sort of some core pillars really of what we're all about. So at Huddlecraft, we believe that people can learn to thrive together on this finite planet of ours. We believe that is possible. And then we know, or scientists, research tell us, that human potential to learn is infinite. And so we're really interested in unlocking more of that potential to learn. And from our practice, we see how huddles can unearth potential that people can't when they're on their own. So small groups of people make things possible for the people within that group that they couldn't make possible on their own, or that they would find it harder to make possible on their own. But craft is required for huddles to work to their full potential. And so at Huddlecraft, we are propagating huddles and also Huddlecraft as well. And so this is what our name really means in a nutshell. So huddling, to come together as a group, and craft, to exercise skill in making. And for those of you who end up joining the Host Fellowship, you'll start your own huddle, and it will be a journey in crafting that space and in developing those skills, as well as offering a space to others to join you. And so a little bit more about huddles and what they are and how they work. So a huddle is a purposeful peer group that tackles a learning journey together. And so what a peer group means is that you have a group of people who are going to teach each other, who are going to relate to one another as equals, who are going to see the gift, the value in everybody there, and who are going to work together and collaborate in order to tackle a learning journey or a learning edge. And huddles have three key ingredients. So the peers themselves, the group of people, which tends to be between 8 and 12 in our model. And then the purpose. So why is this group of people coming together? And I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. And then a pathway. So a structured journey that group of people go through together in order to reach that purpose. And that structure is important, because without it, peer groups often don't reach their full potential. And so this idea of purpose, what are huddles actually for? So here are some examples from our previous hosts, the last Host Fellowship and hosts before that. And it's really a cauldron of eclectic different themes, which all in their own way connect to the idea of a better world. and to pull out just a couple, because our hosts who are on the call will tell you more as well. Unraveling time. So that was a theme for a peer group in the last host fellowship that was literally about exploring the concept of time itself through creativity and through other means. And then there's Sarah in the top left, who hosted a huddle for London-based freelancers so that they could navigate freelance life better together. So you can see that huddles can be used for something that's quite practical, but also for something that is very exploratory and a little bit wild as well. Huddles are also for organizations. So Rebecca is on the call and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we've worked with a number of organizations now where they either want to see their employees huddle together, or they want to see their community huddle together, or maybe they're particularly interested in developing a certain skill. So for example, government digital service used a huddle to develop their content design practice, which was moving faster than sort of training courses could keep up with. And then coming back to that idea of a pathway. So what we have done over the past more than 5 years now at Huddlecraft is develop a flexible pathway structure for huddles that you can adapt to fit the purpose that you want to work on. And it looks something like this. And for those who know us before our rebrand earlier this year, we called this the Learning Marathon. And so we have changed our language a little bit, but it's still the same structure, still the same tried and tested structure. And it tends to run between 3 months and 6 months and follow a design process where you start in an exploratory phase, then move into a phase of developing ideas or responses, and finally moving into a showcase phase where you are externalizing your learning in some way and sharing it with the world. And what we've done is test out a number of different sort of touch points, meetups, intensives, workshops, formats that can be pieced together within that structure, within that pathway, in order to meet the needs of the purpose that you bring. So again, I think our hosts will talk a little bit more about the purpose that they were focused on, and maybe what that meant in terms of how they adapted some of the structure that we offer. So huddles are a collective experience, and this is all about hosting, not teaching. So if you're here wanting to teach a group of people about something, there are lots of platforms for that, so you can go there. But if you're interested in hosting a group of people who are actually going to lead the process with you, then you're in the right place. Learning questions are a big part of the structure, and usually within our huddles, everyone has a learning question that frames their journey. And there are, again, lots of different ways of approaching this that might fit the purpose that you have in mind. So sometimes the questions are multidisciplinary and everyone has their own one, and the connections might not be immediately obvious, but found in the process itself. Other times there is a very clear uniting theme, such as time that I just mentioned, and all the questions will connect to that. And we also have huddles sometimes where there is one shared learning question too. And this is just one example of something that people say once they have participated in a huddle. And this is the kind of experience that you might be interested in creating as a host. Little bit of stats. So to date, we've trained 30 hosts, so within the host fellowship, although more with organizations as well. So there have been 30 huddles and now more than 300 participants. And one of the things that we love about this model is that people can do it again, because it's not a curriculum. It's not a set of content that you work through that expires. It's different every single time. And so 94% of people say they'd huddle again, and 8% of our community have huddled again, sometimes as many as 3 times. And I won't talk about this in detail because I know we've got a lot to get through and not too much time, but huddles have an impact on people. And I imagine if you're interested in hosting, you're interested in the impact that you might be able to have. And the typical impacts that we see are around people's capabilities and their well-being and what they report the differences for them. Their relationships, these are average numbers of reported relationships built through huddles. Through the projects that people create as part of huddles. So on the left, there's a design agency that someone started through the process. In the middle, a social enterprise involving food. And on the right, I guess more of an art project, but a phone line that you can call to speak to an ancestor. And this one came out of the Time group. So people create a really wide range of things. They don't all create businesses. That's not necessarily the purpose. But these are some good examples that show that people take things to quite a tangible place sometimes. And finally, something that's important for us at Huddlecraft is that we love to see when people start building peer-to-peer values into the work that they're doing elsewhere. So within their job, within their life, within their side projects, these peer-to-peer approaches start popping up, and we think that's cool. And so the host fellowship itself and how it works. So this is all about growing your own micro venture in a way, or that's one way of thinking about it, and connecting people around this purpose that you care about. And so there's a lot more detail, some of which you can see here, and I won't talk through it all because it's all in the information pack and we can answer questions. But the wheel that you see on the right here, we've designed the host fellowship to contain these different elements in order to help you get your huddle up and running. So training to prepare you, a license to use the structure, the toolkit, the support that we offer, a community of people who've done it before, and a wider community of people who've participated, support from the team, potential to bring in some income. We have an abundancy fund, I'll talk more about that in a second, and then the toolkit as well. And this is, it looks like a mess, but it's not. This is the way we structure the support that we offer you during the host fellowship. So there's the Huddlecraft team, and then we have a team of host mentors who are all people who have hosted before and been through the process. And they support each host, each new host, one-on-one to design, recruit, launch, and run their huddle. And then, of course, they connect to the huddles that they run. And sometimes, in some cases, they're going on to run more than just one. And so this package of support that we offer runs over 18 months because we know now that we need a sort of a germination period where we're training, where we're developing the proposition. And then we know that different people, for various reasons, take different lengths of time to get started and to get going. And so this period of time should provide plenty of time for you to get started and then to run a journey of 6 months if that's what you want to do. The training that we offer includes a whole bunch of things, and we are this year going to divide it down into 2 parts. So we're going to have some training in October when we kick off. And then we're also going to have some training in January, and that's just to stagger the training that you need at different points in the process. All of the training will be online so that we can be bringing people together from different locations. And you will be in touch with and surrounded by and supported by the host community. Some of these people will be mentors, some will be part of the wider community. And I think it's a pretty amazing community of people, actually, and one of the best things that we have to offer. Forgive a little bit of old branding, but just to flash up a bit about the host guide and the resources that we offer you, we're in the process of rebranding all of this stuff, which is quite a large task. So as part of the host fellowship, you will have access to the guide, which is a website where there's everything that you will need at every single stage of the process, right from the beginning through to reflection at the end. Then we have our website where you'll be able to create your own page and list it on the website and share it with the world. And you'll be able to take expressions of interest through that page as well. And then we have a whole bunch of marketing resources and things that will help you connect with people who might want to be involved. And then to mention the Abundancy Fund. So we crowdfunded in 2020 to create a fund that would support hosts to offer bursaries. We didn't use all of that fund in the first year, and we find ways of replenishing the fund as well. But a big part of this is also partnering with organizations who can help us reach a wider range of people. So we will be renewing all of that work this time in support of the journeys that you want to host. This is what the fee structure looks like. And I think it's important to say the Host Fellowship is a non-profit activity for Huddlecraft, but we want to cover our costs and also be able to offer a really high level of support and a relational approach. And there are bursaries as well as these 18-month payment plans, which in our experience makes it a lot easier for people to make this commitment and make this investment. And so finally, how to apply if you're interested in joining us. Speak to us after this if you need more clarification, if you've got questions. Then make an application by 9 a.m. on the 16th of August. There's a form that should be very visible on our webpage. And then finally, we'll do a two-way interview because we think it's important that you interview us a little bit as well, because 18 months is quite a long relationship that we enter into together. And if you're representing an organization, arrange a call with us, because the process may be a little different depending on what you need. And that's me. Thank you.